Hi, I'm Mark.
And I'm Nayah,
Welcome to Unpacking.
where once we were coupled and now we're uncoupled.
That's right. Okay.
His choice of words. Well, we're go ahead. What are you going to say?
Yeah, I read it on the internet.
Oh, okay. Yeah, he liked it.
Mhm.
Actually, from another podcast, was it?
I think so. I think I first heard it with Gwyneth Paltrow.
Oh,
Yeah, she and her
good girl.
ex, I think. They
Chris,
uncoupled.
Chris Martin.
I think so. Yes.
He did a song with Burner Boy.
You did?
Is he the one who did that? These are the monsters we make. Are we a monster?
You know, you're the Burna Boy fan. So
I love Burner Boy.
you
Burner,
look for the song.
Burner Boy. It's fine. Some. Alright. I just need to know if it's the same person. But anyway, on our last episode, on our last time together, at the end of the recording, we're talking about happiness. Yeah.
Right.
And how about we unpack happiness today? Now, mind you, this is totally unscripted. We do not discuss what we're going to discuss before we get here. We may agree that we're going to talk about
Mm.
something, but we don't kind of say, oh, I want to say that. I want to say that. We really want it to really come from the heart. Our
Right.
agreement is to be transparent
Authentic.
and authentic. So funny, today, Amani and Zolani were having their moments, and I was like, okay, time to read. Let's turn off Minecraft and uh, he's been reading Diary of a Wimpy Kid and whatever, all those things he reads. And I was like, nah, today you're going to read, let me look on my bookshelf, The Happiness Project. And he's like, oh, mommy. So let's talk about that.
Okay.
Maybe I should have read that in preparation.
Yeah. Cool. So are you happy?
Wait. I
Still
think
looking
we
for your
need to
song.
see if Chris Martin and okay, if he's the same person who sang the song. This is very important.
If it has the two words Burna Boy in it, yeah, it's gonna be important
And I
to
really
Naya.
like this song. It's called The Monsters We Make. Anyway, all right, I'm gonna stop. I think he's.
Okay.
Um, that's a great question. I am on this journey. Um, lately, I have been taking the time in the mornings to really journal, to meditate, like really taking time
Mm.
to do that.
Hmm.
Um, so I do take a good 2 to 3 hours in the morning, probably the past 2 to 3 months, just to be still, to listen, to, you know, get some inspiration and stuff. Um, and really try to find this newer version of me, I guess,
Mm.
or to unpack the woman I'm becoming. Because I felt like for a season, I was just all over the place. Um, I felt like I was running away from a lot of things, which, people look at travel and think it's glamorous and everything. I think as I have been unpacking, part of it was a reason to get away, to run
Mm.
away from the things that I didn't understand,
Mm.
um, and divert my attention to something else. Um, so happiness is not a very concrete concept to me. I know I have moments where I'm very happy. There are moments where it's just things are good.
Mm.
And then there are moments where I'm not so happy or I may experience grief um, in many, many different ways, whether it's loss of my dad, processing this relationship, um, and reaffirming who I am to myself. Some of those things are joyous, actually. Some of them are do not inspire joy. It's work. Um, so in a roundabout way, overall, yes.
Longest answer ever, but no, I get 100%.
Am I happy? I don't know.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm still. I don't know if someone. I don't even know what happy is. You know.
Yeah, yeah. I I think it's. I don't think it's a. It's not a destination. It's like,
It's
yeah,
the
it's a journey.
daily.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I think by maybe by happy, what I was implying is like, are you at peace? Are you at a place where you feel some sense of contentment or ease? And it's again, it's a constant journey. It's always in flux.
Hmm.
And I think I heard once someone say, happiness is a feeling and joy is a state of mind or state of being.
Hmm.
Um, and we can split hairs on these things, but like overall, um, I know like for me, when I moved out, I was very sad, extremely sad. I used to have to put up on a brave face for the kids and kind of, we I think we
Was that in
intrinsically,
which place? Which what?
when I moved to my new
Okay.
to my apartment.
Mhm.
Um, and a lot of times, because I was by myself, and I had a lot of time to just be by myself, and it was hard. It was hard. I cried a lot, um, many times, and I was definitely very unhappy. Like my overall energy was negative, if you could say that. It's like there was a heaviness, there was a weight, there was a sadness, all these things.
Mhm.
When I compare and contrast it to now, I still have those moments.
Mhm.
I think they're fewer and farther between now. And I feel like my energy is net positive. Like, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like, I have a net positive feeling and uh, overall emotions. Like, I'm feeling more joy than sadness, more happiness than sorrow. Those things still come because as you know, I also have not only, excuse me, grieving about um, our relationship, grieving about my dad, my sister, and and those things. It's part of life. I don't think it's a function of us breaking up. It's just life.
Mhm.
Just that now that you,
It's a compound.
it's compounded exactly, yeah, by all these other things that are happening,
COVID.
and then COVID,
Mhm.
yeah, um, yeah. On COVID, it's interesting though because when I think about it, I didn't really mind the isolation. I did, of course, miss, like the places you want to go or places I want, go take the kids or, just travel to and you can't go. But in terms of just being, I don't think I was affected. I know a lot of people struggle being alone,
Yeah.
being by themselves. I can't say categorically that I'm one of those. I was one of those people, thankfully. Um, but yeah, it definitely did compound things because there's a lot of stuff you could have done or that we were used to doing, in the summer or whatever, go out and uh, see places and do stuff. And there's just this heaviness hanging over everything, and this fear of am I going to lose a loved one, and there's all that stuff that was playing into it. Yeah, so it was definitely a difficult time, um, and an unhappy time for a long period.
So if you had to wait
Mhm,
your happiness,
mhm,
because I think in the last um, recording episode,
mhm,
we talked about you saying you were unhappy in the relationship.
mhm.
So was it compounded unhappiness when you moved out, or was it a breath like I'm glad I did that, but this is
Mhm.
a new happiness unhappiness that I'm discovering?
Uh, wow, that's a great question. Um, I think it was mostly a new unhappiness. I think it had gotten to a point where, yes, I was unhappy in the marriage, and I think um, when we made the decision, when it got to that point where it became a separation, it was hard. It was very hard, and um, but in the back of my mind, the thing that kept running was we can't stay in it, quote unquote, for the kids. I think that it had gotten to a point where it had become very toxic between us, you know. And you found the song. It's reminded me of a scene in Rush Hour 3, and they show the cuts. So we go randomly on tangents, so get used to it. And then they show the like the bloopers at the end.
Yeah.
And there's this scene at the end where they're filming and Chris Tucker's phone rings.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And it's his dad calling. And his dad wanted to talk to Jackie Chan. And Jackie like, we're filming right now. We can't talk. We can't talk. We're upset, we're rolling film and wasting. So, yeah. So that just reminded me of that scene. Yeah. Back to what we were saying, like we put it on the D&D, do not disturb. Yeah. So or airplane. Yeah. Yeah. So I think it was a new happy. There was still residual, of course, like unhappiness from within the relationship because that didn't just switch off when we decided, okay, we're separating. So that's gone. It's not it's not as clear cut as that. So there's still that circulating. So it was compounded at first, but that one I think faded fairly fast because I felt like our decision was the right decision to go our separate ways. Um, but now I was dealing with a new type of unhappiness, um, and just questioning myself and as like, couldn't there have been another way? Could I have done more? Could I have maybe caught not caught like was there anything like just question yourself like was this really the only way and the only path and uh, you know I remember when we told the kids, and I think that was probably one of the hardest days I've ever had, because they're at an age, even now, where they don't really understand it. Um, and
But the kids had sensed it.
yeah,
And
yeah.
Amani is a very uh, deeply sensitive child. Actually, they both are.
Mm.
And um, Amani is our son, the older one. And when I'd be driving him to school, he'd be like, "Oh, mommy, so and so, their mom lives here, their dad lives here, and so and so has a new dad, or so and so has a new mom,
Mm.
and
Mm.
I just want to have just you and daddy forever."
Mm.
Or,
Mm.
he,
Mm.
oh, like that was the theme,
Mm.
the
Mm.
theme, the
Mm.
ongoing theme of the conversations.
Mm.
Um, kids sense it.
They do.
They know
Yeah.
that stuff
Things
could
are
be
not.
better. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's a that's a good point, and uh, bringing me into talking about how societally, a lot of people stay in toxic marriages for the kids, and kids are not dumb. Even when they're young, like you're saying, they sense it. And yeah, I remember they used to talk a lot about their friends whose parents have separated or divorced. It was a recurrent theme of conversation around that time. And you and I hadn't even talked to them about anything that was happening. But I think, like you're saying, they sensed it and they were started to kind of give what their thoughts and position was on it in an indirect way. Um, and I think you said even in the last episode that um, you're you're invested in me being happy and doing the things that make me keep me happy, because then I'll be like um it will be a positive outcome for the kids, right? And again, that's the key is, if you want your kids to be happy and you two are not happy, then you're fooling yourselves. It's not going to really work out. They will see through it, or they'll sense it,
They'll
because they'll,
absorb the
yeah,
energy.
exactly, yeah, yeah, yeah. Because I mean, we look at them now, um, even just today, like, yes, we're not together, but they don't feel that gap between us. They don't feel, because there's no more tension between us. There's no more, like, uh, yeah, I would call it tension. That toxicity is not there. They don't sense it because it's not there. And I think it just allows them to be who they are, um, grow and just be whole, even though you and I are not together.
Mm-hmm.
They see how we interact as well, you know. And I think um, we it would have been really bad if it stayed, and had that toxicity build up, and it starts coming out in all kinds of nasty ways, you know. So it was a hard decision, but I think um, it was the right one for us. You that's what I feel. Um, yeah. To-
So, in your mind,
mm,
when was it? When was it over? Like, was it before therapy? Before I talked to my mom? Like, or what was your checkout
mm,
process
mm,
like? Like, when did you start being like, "Hey, this is too much"?
mm. I don't know if this is the episode for that, because I think maybe we need to talk about, like, why we're not together. I think that one probably need its own. But anyway,
Okay.
um, yeah, uh, I
Maybe timeline wise,
yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
okay,
So,
so we were together a solid 10 years.
mhm,
All right, so is it year two? Or when did the feelings of happiness start to erode?
mm.
to where you were like, this is not, it's not salvageable?
I think it's a complex one for me because I think for the longest time you were encouraging me, for us to do counseling and stuff, and
Day one.
avoidance.
Day one.
Day really? Which day one?
2.
In 2010? I don't think so. But
11.
Isn't that early?
Here's a tone in your voice. Even you know.
No, I've just gone to soprano because I need some. Anyway, okay, so
Maybe 12.
maybe. And I resisted it.
We got married in 2010.
Yes.
July 2010. So I think 2012 was when.
Maybe.
Yeah.
You probably remember that more than I do because I do. I think I pushed it to the back of my mind. No, I don't think we need counseling. We're good. We're both very involved and active churchgoers and stuff, and that's maybe something we'll talk about. Is faith and religion and belief systems and stuff like that. But to come back to a question about timelines, I think maybe 20. Hey, notebook. You guys can't see, but off camera, she has like a stack of notebooks. She always has notebooks everywhere around the house, in her car, handbag, whatever. There are all these notebooks, so always within arm's reach. Yeah. So that's how she rolls. So timeline wise, maybe. Yeah. Proof. These are maybe half. These are like half.
For 20. What year were you? 22. So I was like finding my books because I want to kind of unpack the year. This is the new one. It just has one page filled in.
Well done.
Yes.
Okay. So I think maybe I would say around 2019, maybe 2018.
2018.
I don't know. I think probably 2019 is when like I was felt more strongly. It was the latter half of that year of 2019, and I
So
think
you checked out, like properly.
I think so.
Proper checkout.
Yeah.
What did that mean to you?
I think at that point it was kind of like going through the motions, like just you know, um, being a dutiful dad and a dutiful husband, but like not, like checking boxes. I feel like I was checking boxes. The dad part, like for me, I've always been huge on being a good dad to my kids. That will never ever change. That has never been a thing that I would ever not want to do. It's a non-negotiable. It's like hardwired into me. So despite everything else, or, regardless of everything else, that's sorry for that background noise. Yolani came and was speaking something. Yeah. So for me, that's always been a non-negotiable. Like the kids, I will take care of them. I'll do my best not to project any stuff that's happening around me on the kids, and I'll be there and be present, be a present dad. Um, but I think as far as the marriage, at that point, I think I was tired. I felt, yeah, like you said, checked out.
So, what were you tired of exactly?
I was tired of pretending that things are okay. I was tired of um, the feelings I was feeling of, I guess, frustration, um, I guess, uh, rejection, and also I think I was at a point where I was just so, I didn't, like, I'd lost my way in terms of who am I, um, from a belief standpoint as well. Um, from a personality standpoint, I just felt I was not living an authentic life. I felt like, like I said, I was going through the motions and checking boxes. We'll do our bills, we'll do our budgets, whatever, all that stuff that we were were doing up until that point. Mm-hmm. And then remember, late that year, late 2019, was when we went to Texas for Christmas with the family, and your mom called me aside, um, and we talked, and she could tell I was unhappy. I was unhappy, and I didn't really know how to unpack it to her, and and even to myself, to be honest, I don't think I had the vocabulary to really express what it was I was feeling. Like, you know something, but you don't know how to fully express it. Um, and so 2020, when I finally, relented to, and we, decided to find a counselor. Um, I think for me, counseling gave me the tools, but also the vocabulary. And I think you as well, because it's like the conscious uncoupling and all these terms and stuff. Some of those resources came from you. You send me a link, like, go check out this thing, or Esther Perel or whoever, and I'd start reading up on those things, and decided to make sense to me. It started to help me develop an understanding and a vocabulary that I could use that would both be able to understand. Yeah, that's a long answer.
I don't remember the question.
Yeah, the question was, when did I what was the timeline for me checking out?
Okay.
Yeah, yeah, I was taking mental notes.
Good job.
Thank you, thank you.
Mm,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you look back, we had, I think in a way, we're both a little avoidant. Mm. You more so. Like I can still bring stuff up to say, let's talk about this or something, but you're more avoidant. So our communication style, like I realize, like if I come to you direct, you would just shut down completely, and that's usually how I used to approach stuff. So I realized, okay, if I wanted to get anything out, I had to infuse humor. Our humor is very weird, um, and then gentle threats, which after a while, in hindsight, I feel like, because I think we used to say stuff like in joking, like, "Oh, how much money is in your like insurance plan? I just want to make sure I'm taken care of. If I poison you, or like,
Yeah, yeah,
I know we used to say some like really dark stuff and then be like, ha ha
yeah,
ha
yeah.
ha." I have a friend, one of our friends, Alex, he'd be like,
He'd be scandalized.
yes, like, what is going on
Yeah,
with these
yeah,
people?
yeah,
Like, that's just how we are.
yeah,
We funny.
yeah.
Like, who talks like that? Oh my gosh.
But it reminded me of a time when Pastor Julian, when we were still in Nairobi before we got married, And so Nayah is a veteran, ex army, and so the pastor at the church we used to go to, he was a good friend. Um, he said to me once, "Hey, listen, bro, I love you. I have your back 100%. But if you guys ever have like a domestic tiff or whatever, I don't want to get shot. So you're on your own." And it was obviously he was joking, and yeah. So I mean, we've always had this very quirky sense of humor, but that we both kind of understood to be that, and maybe people looking on from outside. That's a weird thing to say. Like, you need to make sure you have enough insurance in case I take you out. You know, and I don't mean for dinner. And like, yeah. So that's funny.
Yeah. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, I think in our subconscious there was like, just do or die, man. Like,
Mm.
um, there's one way out.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah.
By the book or
Yeah.
that's
Yes.
not healthy.
Yeah. Let's not get the channel banned before we.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But yeah, I mean, real talk. I'm sure a lot of spouses have had like, that moment where you're like, I just wish you weren't here.
Mm,
Wish you weren't in my space. You
mm,
were
mm,
present
mm,
so much better when you're not here.
mm, mm.
You know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. And I think we we got to that point, and it was during maybe just before your mom talked to me. We were in that definitely in that space where like I felt like I didn't feel comfortable because you were not comfortable with me being in your space, and that was those are big warning signs and stuff.
yep.
And I think a lot of people ignore them, or they kind of sweep them under the rug, but those things only fester. They only
Yeah.
get worse.
Yeah.
Um, and so I am really thankful we went to the counseling because it helped us kind of direct our energy in a more positive and constructive way, and think more clearly. That was not purely driven by emotion, but by some, rational and rational thought. Um, and I think one of the things that Zane helped us do is like helped you see how to approach me in a way that I won't shut down, but also be deliberate about like remember how every week we'd go and do like coffee and talk
We
about stuff.
had we had more dates uncoupling than we did when we were an official couple.
You're gonna tell everyone
It's true.
that. I'm kidding. No, it is true. It
So
is true.
intentional. Like
Yeah.
we were going out, sitting down, and working through and communicating
Right.
way better
Yeah. Yeah.
in that season when we're
Mm,
unpacking this stuff
mm, mm,
than we did
mm.
probably.
For majority of so
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. Yeah.
So which is why I think like it should not be an if, like counseling therapy. You
Mm-hmm.
should have one on deck,
Mm,
like
mm,
your
mm,
pediatrician,
mm,
your family doctor,
mm. Yeah. Counselor should
therapist,
be right
counselor,
right there.
someone whom you can trust.
Yeah.
Right. I think the challenge in Kenya was trust. Like,
Mm,
where do we
mm,
find
mm,
a counselor that we can
mm,
trust? Now,
mm.
we were both at a church, and there were counselors at the church. I didn't trust none of them. Just being honest. No
mm,
offense.
mm,
But, and that's because I heard how they handled other couples. And I'm like, you're barely getting
mm.
to the surface
Right,
of what this couple is going through,
right.
some of the recommendations.
Mm,
And I was like,
mm,
I don't think you're fixing anything.
mm,
So
mm,
I didn't, and then I don't think we did the research
mm.
to try to find someone
Yeah,
to,
yeah.
or, I said we needed it, but had a new baby,
Mm-hmm. Mm,
navigating a new country,
mm,
and then was expecting again.
mm,
So
mm,
there was a lot of transition happening. But I feel like if you put those things in place prior to,
mm,
it can help. Now,
mm,
we did have what we call an accountability couple, right? This couple, they're our friends. We felt like we could be open and transparent with them about some of the issues that we were
mm,
having. And they were a great, people to walk the journey with us. What I think why it was ineffective was that they were they were our peers. They did
mm-hmm.
not. I don't know the conversations you had, for
Mm-hmm.
example,
Decay.
with DK, but that they did. I don't think it challenged you
Mm,
to ask deeper questions, to look at yourself, or
mm.
say we can fix this or not. You know.
Right. Yeah. And yeah, I think, that's not a reflection of them. It's just that
No, no,
you
they're not
need,
equipped
yeah,
with the tools.
exactly. You need
Yeah.
someone who's a professional, because I feel like, one of the other things that I was concerned about is, you said there were counselors in church. I don't know if they were professional counselors or like vocationally, like you know, they will say like in Christian circles, we felt called to it, right? But counseling and therapy, it's a profession. You need to be trained. So don't just go to anyone. Um, and then the other thing is, a lot of times you find, at least anecdotally, what I found is a lot of counselors, if you find them within the church setting, their their ultimate goal is to keep you guys together. And for some couples, that's just not what should happen. You guys are, maybe you thought you were meant to be together, and you're just not right for each other. And it's for whatever reason, maybe you misread it at the beginning or whatever it is, or you've kind of grown in different directions, and not out of any sort of malice or anything or ill will. It's just you guys are not compatible anymore. And I find that a lot of times they'll be trying to encourage you to stay together and pray about it and stuff, but some of those issues are beyond prayer. It's like fundamental differences in character and personality, in vision and drive and all these things. And it's not necessarily the best advice for you guys to stay together. You know, the other thing
I
that
think the premise of a lot of premarital counseling is um, in the church settings because we met at church,
mm,
right? And it's how to be a godly husband, how
mhm,
to be a godly wife, and that comes with its own.
unpacking.
Yes. Yeah, that, but I really think at the root of a couple, two separate individuals coming together to build
Mm,
build and live a life together
mm,
is unpacking childhood trauma.
mm, mm,
I really think that is the
mm,
core,
mm,
you know. Yes, we can talk about vision, those are all very, very important. But it's the childhood trauma that keeps seeping in to
mm, mm,
to derail you
mm, mm,
from that vision and the goals and, you know,
Right. Yeah.
the expectations as well, um, and your perception of certain actions and stuff like that. I think everyone experiences it on some level, and um, maybe you deal with your own demons, as people like to say, or and you deal with yours in one way, but it's not at a place. The things that we've dealt with are not the things that are the foundation of the relationship.
Right.
So
Right. Right.
it's, I think that's one of many things, childhood trauma. Um, the other stuff, it's good stuff, but it's not enough. It's not
That's
enough.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's a
Because
good
I
point.
wonder, I wonder if through this, through therapy and counseling prior to, would you have found out some of the things you found out about yourself now, 10 years into a marriage, prior to this? And that would have set you up for a different course. You know what I mean? Instead of,
Yeah.
you know, we're all on a journey of discovery. It is what it is. But now that journey of discovery involves two children
Right.
and someone else in your life, multiple people, the combining of families. So I think really going into marriage, there's a degree of wholeness and healing that has to take place unless you have the patience to do that work within.
Yeah.
And that's where the onboarding, hey, this is your gift. Lifelong therapy. Like those are the type of gifts. Once a week, I need to go see the therapist and counselor. Like now, talk about good gifts.
Yeah.
That's a gift.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I think um again, in the context of thinking about happiness and uh childhood trauma, the so many of the ways in which I reacted or acted, I was able to trace back through the therapy sessions to a time when I was younger or very young, and something happened, and that's how that became my norm. It became my safe space. Became my default reaction to that kind of situation. And like you're saying, so we grow up having we have to adapt. We have to survive in this world and with everything it throws at you. And very often we don't have the guidance to know how to navigate the world. So you find your own way to survive. And many times, whatever way that is, it works for you, but it might not be the healthiest way to deal with that thing. But you don't know better, and you come from a society where, especially in the African context, growing up, like anytime I would hear or would be told, "Oh, so and so," I had relatives who had mental health issues and would be, be taken to clinics for help and stuff like that. It was always very hush hush. It was looked down upon. It was spoken of in low tones, and there was a lot of shame around anything to do with counseling because we just didn't have that as part of our culture. Um, and so when you grow up, you tend to shun counseling because you have that in the back of your mind. It's been imprinted. And yet, in the period 2020, the months we had the therapy as a couple and then individually, I learned so much about myself. The self discovery learning curve was very steep, but you know, it was so good, so powerful. Um, and you know, it like you're saying, that's an amazing gift to gift a couple counseling. It's a fantastic gift, and for couples who recognize that counseling is important to them and they take steps and get counseling, it really, really does help, you know. Um, and yeah, the child trauma, I'd not thought about that angle, but it's absolutely spot on. It's how we've reacted to things as kids and growing up into adulthood, and how, what are healthy ways and unhealthy ways of reacting to stuff, to stimuli that are constantly coming our way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay.
Get counseling, people. Maybe we'll drop some links for those who are in the Washington area. If you guys want to ask find out some places that you could go. There are lots of resources here, and even in wherever you are in the world, uh, Kenya, Cameroon, all over the world, do your best to find a counselor and find a counselor that is willing to kind of hear you out and not with a preconception. Because one of the biggest things that we did was we're very deliberate when we're looking for counselors is they couldn't be affiliated with church or any religious organization. They had to be like professionally trained, yes, but also independent and
but also um, spiritually conscious.
right.
Yes,
Right.
because we both had that
Right.
spiritual formation,
Yeah.
which was a part of our DNA.
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
so someone who really understands that. So we ended up actually with a Muslim therapist, um, or Muslim background. I don't know if he's a practicing Muslim, but um, and also foreign. Like I think you should be picky and choosy about who
Who you talk to,
who
yeah.
you talk to. Like
Yeah.
for me, ideally I would have wanted someone black, but we're in Washington. Like
There are not that many black
but,
therapists here. Yeah.
I'm sure there are a couple. So if you know any, drop them and share the information. But yes, the therapist we found, Muslim, foreign, so he understood the immigrant perspective. You have to find what the core things are to you. Like, first generation American, you know, lived my life on multiple different continents. You study abroad, lived in Kenya. So someone, there are so many nuances to who we are as individuals and how that showed up in our marriage that if someone doesn't really understand the context, they're not a good fit as a therapist.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I remember one of the first things he said, again, our first session with him, he said, I think he did say that he's Muslim.
Yeah.
But he said that he's not going to bring his religion or his faith into the counseling sessions, but he understands the context around the spirituality. And that's so important that, they don't have to share the same faith, but they lived in a dynamic where faith is a big thing. And so they understand some of those nuances that come up, because whether you're Christian or you're Muslim or you're Hindu or whatever it is, there's certain common threads that run through all of these belief systems, um, that need someone who understands how to navigate them, even though they don't necessarily share the same faith as you. So that's another important thing to consider.
Yeah. So, yeah, find a therapist, a counselor that understands you. I think I was watching Yvonne Orji's special on HBO, her newest one. And she was saying how she went to therapy and she cycled through 3 therapists. She's like, oh, first one's not me. Oh, second one. He kept laughing. Like, so she was like,
she's a comedian.
Yeah, she's a comedian. Yeah. I mean, but it makes sense. Like, you have to be able to vibe with your therapist.
Right.
You need to feel completely comfortable and know that, gloves off, everything off. Like, in terms that when they say naked and unashamed in a marriage, that's how you need to feel in your therapy sessions.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Someone who can call you out on your BS when they need to.
Like, you just said this.
Yeah.
You said this.
That's right.
What are we really?
Yeah.
Yeah. I liked when he would repeat back to me the things I said.
Wait, I said that.
And I'm like,
Yeah,
that was
okay.
good. That
Yeah.
was good. So like we started with him pre-COVID and then had to transition to,
Mm.
the Zoom,
Hmm.
which I didn't like as much.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then fun fact is we so we had him started off with couple therapy, and then we had agreed at the beginning that we'll do some a couple sessions and then some individual ones with Nayah and myself, and then after, yeah, and then come back together. Um, but even after we had made the decision to separate, we both retained him as our individual therapist. But he was that good. Like he connected with us individually that well. Um,
I have attachment issues. Like I'm like, if I like somebody, I'm thinking this person.
yeah.
Like you gonna have to leave.
Yeah.
If one of us has to leave, it's not gonna be me.
Yeah. I remember.
Yes.
I remember.
No
Yeah.
tie.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then tangential talking about leaving, and again about happiness. So one of the things that came to mind was um, like you're very much a planner, you know, notebooks, evidence. So I remember when we made the decision to separate, and you asked me, okay, what's your timeline? Basically, I was given an ultimatum, like, by when are you leaving my house? So anyway, so we agreed on a date that was reasonable, and then moved. Of course, the stresses of moving. I wouldn't really call them stresses. I didn't move too far from nine. For those who watched the last one, we lived 12 minutes apart from each other. Um, and then I didn't have that much stuff, so it was easy. And you're very gracious, and you're not didn't wait for the deadline. Like, okay, today's the day out, So it was gradual, but I think one of the cool things that came out of it was um, it was still hard with the kids, but I think we kind of uh, played it as okay. Now you guys are gonna have two houses, you know, and I think that helped kind of soften that blow of me not being here. Um, and I think it helped contribute to it not feeling so heavy and weighty as it was. Um, because these little people, they've been through a lot. They've been through a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was. I remember the first day that they had to leave to go to your place. That I think, aside from us telling them,
Mm.
oh, the day we told them, the kids, the African in them came out. Like they cried this mournful,
Mm. Mm.
like Zolani
Mm.
screamed and rolled on the floor.
Mm.
Like
Mm.
it was mourning
Mm.
and grieving.
Mm.
Imani was
Mm.
crying
Mm.
and just like,
Mm. Yeah.
it was awful.
Mm.
It was
Mm.
awful. Like it
Mm.
still gives me goosebumps
Yeah.
thinking
Yeah.
about it.
Too. Too.
But for me, the second day that it really hit me was the day you had to come. Now you're at your place
Mm.
and you're coming to um, pick them
Pick them.
up,
Yeah.
and just packing their bags and seeing
Mm.
them with their little backpacks going out the door.
Mm.
That was a hard thing.
Mm.
I don't know how much I cried that
Mm.
day.
Mm.
That was just
Mm.
like,
Mm.
what the hell?
Mm.
Like, what is this?
Yes.
These are my children.
Right.
Just
Yeah.
their little backpacks.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was hard.
Yeah.
Um, it does get easier. It does get easier over time. Obviously, it's like a big wound that
Mm.
it's now super exposed,
Mm.
right? And then you're just learning the dynamics of the wound,
Right.
right? Like,
Exactly.
you
Yeah.
know it's there,
Yeah.
but you didn't really realize,
Mm.
like, okay,
Mm.
these are the little
Mm.
nuances.
Yeah. That make it sting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's gotta go.
Mm.
They have to pack and leave.
Mm.
And that was like, okay,
Mm.
we got to tell the school we
Mm.
have two addresses.
Mm.
And the kids,
Mm.
the teachers are
Mm.
calling and saying, oh, we
Mm.
heard there's stuff going on.
Mm.
Thank
Mm.
God they had such wonderful teachers.
Yeah. Yeah.
Who
Yeah.
really supported us.
Mm. Mm.
I felt like they were the third leg of this,
Right.
like
Yeah.
the teachers just
Yeah.
holding their hands.
Yeah.
Their school has group therapy and all
Mm.
kinds of things. It's the way of the world now. So many kids are going through this. Um, yeah, but learning,
Mm.
like, okay, I don't have to buy as much food,
Mm.
or I need to, now that they're gone, what do I do with this bracket of time?
Mm.
Or
Mhm.
you know, we need to have clothes here and there.
Mm.
There's so much learning and new
Right.
things
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
were happening.
Mm.
And you're just
Mm.
like,
Mm.
okay, it's a lot. Every
Mm.
day
Mm.
felt like a new experience.
Yeah.
And then you kind of stay in it for a while.
Mm.
And then, yeah, it does get better. Like, actually, there are times now I'm like, maybe this is how it's supposed to be, because when he was here, he wouldn't help out as much as he does now that he's gone. Mm-hmm.
That's not true.
Yes, yes. I think now, because you have time to be thoughtful, like you can sit and process, and
Mm.
you're not weighted by all the other stuff. You're like, here's a need. Let me step in. But before, you were just like, "Bloop."
Okay.
I think,
Maybe.
you see, I'm just saying,
Yeah.
if you have stuff you can say about me,
Yeah.
then say, like,
Yeah.
that. This is just like,
Yeah.
but this is
It's
my perception, and I'm like, it, I get a break, you get a break.
Mm.
Like, when they're with
Mhm.
me,
Mhm.
it's mommy time. When it's there with you, I get a break.
Mm.
I can go salsa dancing.
Mm.
I can have an extra life, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
When we're together, we didn't go salsa dancing,
Yeah.
even though we had help.
Mm.
And I gonna go try to do something. No, you didn't say it like that. You'll always have something else you're doing. It's like,
Shoot.
chill.
Yeah. No, that's interesting that the that observation. I always thought was always helpful.
Okay, so Mark,
Yeah. Let's hear it. Let's hear it.
you were born. His family was affluent. Okay, and then affluent in Africa is different from, you can be in a six-figure income home in the U.S., close to 1 million, and still, you know,
Depending on where you are.
still gotta cut
Yeah.
your own grass,
Mm-hmm.
cook your own food, and do all that.
Mm.
When you're banking almost seven figures, in Kenya, if you're banking like that, even with less, way less, somebody's washing your clothes, washing your car, changing the light bulbs. I specifically say light bulb because we had a bulb in our apartment in Nairobi. When we moved into that place, that light bulb was not working. I said, Papa, I beg, change this light bulb. I don't know how to change this one. It's different. 1 year it took. One. Did you even do it yourself? You called an electrician.
Yeah, I do want to get my ass shocked.
Like, those were the things that were very baffling to me. Like, this man does not know how to do anything. I mean, he lived by himself, so I'm like, okay, he can figure stuff out, but with difficulty. So over the years, you got better, but still with difficulty. Like it does not just be like come natural. Like it's like, oh,
I need to bring that light bulb thing up. I knew it. I knew it was coming.
that light bulb.
I knew it was coming. It's okay. That's
To
fine.
figure myself out in that constraint. When I needed to get something done, I just find a way. That's if you're waiting, like
Yeah,
yes.
fine.
And so it was a learning curve for you coming to America, being like, I gotta wash my own clothes. I gotta now take care of a child. This crazy woman in the mix, like what is going on? Like those ideas
Yeah.
very quickly. Like we need to normalize having help.
Yeah.
I'm a big proponent, like I am a big supporter for normalizing. I would rather have, and I do have the basics, like a very moderate couch. If I can have a cleaner come to my house every week, if I can have someone meal prep for me, you know. And then had my own cleaner. Uncle decided to cancel the cleaner that he will clean. Did you clean?
I clean very well.
Do you
Very,
clean
you
well?
can you
Do
can
you
even
know to
tell
clean
the
well?
difference
Hey,
between a cleaner and my own cleaning.
cancel my clean.
So so here's the thing. Even though Nayah says I came from a affluent background, which I did, um, I think I was also again talking about childhood traumas and stuff. There came a point where we lost everything, right? And it went from 100 to zero. Well, not you get the idea. And so I think for me, I was traumatized by that, and because of that, I started becoming very cagey with money.
Miserly.
I was turning into a Scrooge, and so like the cleaner, I was like, why are we paying this much money every week? Please let me just do the cleaning. We don't need to pay someone to do it. And so I stepped up.
One time.
And again, going back to the counseling, one of the other things that was a driver for not getting counseling was like I was afraid of how much it would cost. So just putting cards on the table here. Like, no, I don't think we need counseling. Inside my head, I'm like, hell no, I'm not paying $100 or $200 or whatever it is the session. Nah, nah, we're not balling like that. Nah, 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 nah. Wait, let's just handle our issues.
$1,000 a month. Yeah, because this one wants to be paying another cleaner every week. Leave it to her. She will have another one coming.
Hey, I'm telling you. Yeah, it was gonna just snowball. Just gonna snowball. Dave Ramsey says, use a snowball to pay off debt, not to gain more staff, not to pay more cleaners. Yeah.
Every child needs a daddy.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
So,
I think, but no, real talk. Like, if you can have help, get help. Like,
yeah.
I feel like a lot of relationships suffer because of these little things, right? Like, you come home tired, the house is a mess, you gotta clean it, and this, that, and the other. Those are the petty arguments. I feel like people back home in parts of Africa don't suffer the same. Do they
challenges?
have challenges? Absolutely. But this one of cleaning the house, doing the dishes, cooking, those are not.
Right.
Those are just not things. It's like, well, I need to do that.
Exactly. Like I have staff.
Yes.
Yeah, because it's cheap to get help.
Yeah.
And
but honestly, everywhere it is cheap. It's how do you prioritize it? Because one, you can get if you're intentional, you can get help from your village, but that means you have to put yourself out there to be helpful. Whenever I meet a mom here, I'm like, girl, you need a break? Send the kids to me. I will watch your kids, right? Go do something, or you need to go somewhere, bring your kids to me. Like, I think we need to establish those support systems. Yes. So that, because we understand that it's not easy. It's not easy. You know?
Yeah. And then when you add the additional layer, and I know some of my relatives will fight me on this, where it's, again, we come from a culture that is very, and not just in Africa, just worldwide, generally very male dominated. And a lot of these domestic um, chores and tasks are delegated to the woman almost by default. And yet, both of you are working. So why should you have the burden of having to come and clean up after the kids? And we were both working, 8 to 5 or whatever. But a lot of times, you're expected to cook, you're expected to clean, you're expected to take care of the kids. And then I'm expected to, um, bring, pay bills or whatever. That's fine. But then I think one of the things that worked well with us was we didn't have, um, there was no, roles were not off limits. And yeah, I know, it might not have been as handy around the house, fixing light bulbs and stuff. I don't think we ever had an issue of me telling you, oh, that's a woman's job, And when you guys you're married, you're a team, you're raising kids together, or even if you don't have kids or don't want kids, doing things as a team. Um,
And even now, I feel like um, you remain a team.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Again, this is best case scenario, is their best case scenario, but where we're not talking about incidences of,
Abuse.
Yeah. Violence, that kind of thing. Um, you remain a team, you remain partners. And I think that's the missing element, is that when, cards are down, people forget that you gotta remain partners.
Yeah.
You don't have to be best friends or anything like that, but you are partners, right? Like, I don't want to sabotage his success in any way, right? I want you, because you make more money, that's better for my kids, right? And he says the same thing.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
when you hit your million,
Yeah.
don't forget the little people over
Yeah.
here. Respect, like, my success is good for our kids, and his success is good for our kids. So to open up space where we can both be successful,
Right.
We can both be healthy.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's important. I do hope that, now I hope that I know that I can be the prickly one.
Yes.
I know I'm the prickly one. Like, sometimes I'm just like,
Yeah.
yes. And I know I can tell he's just like, okay, I'm just gonna tiptoe away. Like, we have to.
Yeah.
But, when everything hits, regular sense comes back. And I'm like, it's okay. What you need to travel to.
When you get sense, now back.
Yes, because sometimes it floats. And then I'm like,
Yeah. Yeah. I like that you're doing this because now I'm seeing, you're revealing something that maybe they don't transmit like over a text message or whatever. So like you're telling, I'm going here, or I have a gig, or I'm traveling or whatever. I never I never get to see your reaction. I just see the response, like, okay. But I don't see the behind the scenes. Like, no sense. No sense.
When I had that reaction the most was when we are doing the weekend schedule, and then it's like, 1 weekend, 2 weekend, 3 weekend,
Yeah, because I had
4
my
weekend.
gigs. Yeah.
I was like, this, like,
Yeah,
no.
there's a bit of inequity there, I guess.
Just the gigs.
Yeah.
But now I can't even be mad because I know like this summer I was on the go. I was
Early
like
summer.
this year as a whole.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I've
Yeah.
been on the and he's been like, okay, it was your
Yeah.
turn.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. It's all good. It's all
and
good.
I feel like we don't even keep track anymore.
Yeah.
If I want to be petty, sometimes I'll be like,
Mhm.
okay, I just need you to remember that you need to have them.
Yeah. For 12 days, I've been checking. Yeah.
And if you take this day that you're asking for,
Yeah.
I'm going to tack it to the end of
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
12 days.
Yes. You said that to me before.
I know.
Yeah, it's fine because I happen to like your kids.
Yes,
Yeah.
they're pretty cool kids.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but
Then
yeah.
there's sometimes you have them for so long, and I'm like, when are they coming back?
Mm.
Then I'll be like, can I come and see them?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, not talking about cases where there's spousal abuse or anything, but if you guys can work something out, it's so much easier.
Yes.
And for everyone involved, everyone just there's no tension, there's no drama, no stress, and there's that flexibility. Like if a gig comes up or whatever, I'll just I can call you and you'll be like, okay, I'll watch the kids, and vice versa, and it's not such a big deal. And even though we have that schedule, which helps us plan, it's we don't hold each other to it that firmly, you know, because yeah, we're in this thing together for the long haul, so
Yeah.
you have to make it work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting. You know, I think like I'm just grateful that it's not acrimonious and stuff like that. Like I'm in Washington State. Like this state is on the higher price tag of states to live in the United States. Um, but in terms of my village and my tribe and people that I know I can call on to be there for my children, I know
Mm.
I can call on you. Now, my brother used to live here and he was a great resource, great help. And we had some other friends. And my other friend, I was mad at all of them because they all left. All of them. Esther, Alex,
I am calling them out.
they don't know them.
Yeah.
Esther, Alex, David, Esther did. She knows herself. Alex and then my brother. They all left. Then they left me with Swan. What am I supposed to do with this?
Did they not fix your light bulb outside there on the front? Yeah.
How many years later? So my light went out on the front.
I don't think there ever was a light in
Is
there.
that what it was?
Yeah.
Actually, the one I needed fixed was this one back
Oh.
here.
Oh.
And so I didn't even know what you were talking about. So I'm glad you did it. Thank you.
Hmm?
But this is the one.
I see.
The same one worked for both. So
Okay.
yeah,
Okay. The simple.
yeah. Um, we digressed.
Yeah.
But
We'll get used to it eventually or not.
um, I've been thinking of moving. It's no secret. Like he knows. I'm like, I want to leave this place. Um, but a big part of it is like he's a good dad. Like he's a good dad. Um, I have to have a really solid reason to move, and I haven't really established that yet. Like it would definitely either be for my business or a potential relationship that is going somewhere. Like it has to be this is my next life partner, marriage or whatever for me to move for that type of scenario, or a business decision. Like it has to make dollars and cents and emotional sense, because it's a big, to be another transition, um, for me, for the kids and everything. But at least now we have a routine that works. And when you're a parent, that's important.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, yeah. And when you're busy, you're running your business, you're working, all these other things, and again, being out here doesn't lend itself to you having that much help because even the people you're mentioning, all of them are working. People have their own lives that they have to lead.
Mhm.
So out here, you're pretty much on your own. Um, like respect to all the single moms out there. Like it's a lot of work, and single dads too. Like it's a lot of work. One of my colleagues he takes care of his kids single handedly. Like they're about our kids' ages. I'm like, man, I think he has 3 kids. Yeah. So, um, just build a community around yourself if you can, um, and then prioritize your your health, your mental health. Seek therapy. Um, and not therapy is not just about going there and feeling sad, and it's not just about when things are bad. It's about giving you the tools to deal with different situations and scenarios in life.
Yeah.
It's not so much about, yes, it's very important when you've gone through grief, but it's not only for a grieving period. It should be something that is sort of lifelong.
Yeah. Because this journey is a journey. It continues to reveal new dynamics. Our kids are changing. They're hitting puberty. How are we handling parenthood? How maybe you're releasing or confronting some, whether it's generational issues, childhood trauma, or your own setbacks in life, and navigating a new season, a recession, or job loss, and everything like that, or a new business. Who we are continues to evolve, and how we show up and navigate the world also continues to evolve. And we have to take ownership of that process. And we're not taught that in school.
Right. Right. Yeah.
We can have, you know, close friends, aunts, uncles, whether it's your community aunt or auntie, or, or your family members who can help you through that. But I think having someone who can be a partner on your journey is very, very important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. For sure. For sure.
And I don't know, it could be once a month. It's not like we're saying every
Yeah.
week
Yeah.
or something.
Yeah, because we started like once a week.
Yeah,
Because there's a lot to unpack. Yeah. Go hard.
Yeah, go hard, and then after a while, it's maintenance. So,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
for yourself, for your relationships, have performance indicators like, how am I doing? How am I feeling? I feel like in the past 6 months, I it's evaluating how I'm feeling has been a really big part of my journey, and that's something I haven't done in a long time, and it's been very helpful. Just will it unearth some ugliness? Yes, yes, it will.
Yeah.
Um, can it be very lonely? Yes, but there's brightness. There's light on the other side of that. Yeah, if you do the work.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
So today we've unpacked happiness to some degree.
Yeah. Yeah. Like you said, it's totally unscripted.
Yeah.
And we'll put this format. I think it makes sense. Just speaking from the heart and sharing stuff.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you for joining us today. Make sure you share this with your friends if there's someone you think this can help. If there's something about our relationship or our journey you want to ask questions about or you want us to address, definitely leave it in the comments. Um, what else? Like, subscribe, share,
Comment, share.
follow,
Yeah.
all the good stuff. Let's do it. All right. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Oh, and shout out to my man Mutua Madeka for this awesome T-shirt. It says Nairobi at the top, and this is a photograph by him. I just had to give you a plug, man. Cheers.
Yes, we love Motoa.
Yeah, awesome guy. All right. Yeah, it's her shirt. She slipped that under there. Long story, but yeah. All right.
All right.
Thanks, guys. Okay.